Hi class, today we are going to talk about figures of speech, but more specifically, personification and pathetic fallacy.
We're going to talk about definition, examples, and types of personification and pathetic fallacy, why and the how we use them, and tips and tricks to help you differentiate the two and identify them in a text.
What is personification?
Well, let's look at the word. We can see the word person and phi. Person, or you could also say human, and phi basically means embody or make into. So if we put them together, it means something embodying a human quality.
The definition of personification is describing something non-human using human characteristics. For example, the lightning danced across the sky, while a lightning bolt cannot dance, but it creates an image of a lightning bolt making a light show.
Here are some examples from books we're going to read this year. In Animal Farm, they say starvation seemed to stare them in the face. Well, starvation doesn't actually have eyes, but it gives an amplified feeling of hunger. And To Kill a Mockingbird, they say, from the day Mr. Radley took Arthur home, people say the house died. Well, a house cannot actually die, but it gives the image of an untidied, unlively, abandoned house.
Now let's talk about pathetic fallacy.
Let's look at the word pathetic fallacy. Again, we can see the word pathetic. That means effect upon the emotion, and fallacy. That means false. So in other words, attaching false emotions on something emotionless.
The definition of pathetic fallacy is describing something non-human using a human emotion. For example, the sky was furious. The sky can't be furious, but it creates an image of a storm. Here are some more examples of books we are going to read in class. In Animal Farm Chapter 7, it was a bitter winter, which just means it was a bad winter. In Romeo and Juliet, it says, "Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon," which is giving a human quality, envious, which means jealous, to the moon, and the moon can't be jealous.
Why do we use them? Well, we use them to give the readers an image or a feeling of the things you are describing. Imagine you're trying to explain something to someone that doesn't have all five of the senses. How would you describe it? For example, how would you describe a rainy day? Well, you might say, the weather is miserable outside. Well, it creates an image of an angry cloud and therefore a bad feeling associated with it. Or you could also say, the cupcake was yelling my name. Well, the cupcake wasn't actually yelling their name, but it gives like an image of a yelling cupcake that gives a feeling of temptation or will.
How to use personification and pathetic fallacy. Well, first, you put yourself in the shoes of the animals or objects you are describing. Then you try to see from their perspective. And finally, you describe them by using phrases that matches their personalities and emotions.
Tips and tricks. Here are some tips to help you remember the two.
In personification, there's the word person, which can relate to personality, and personality is a synonym for characteristics. And cation is like action, you just got to switch the A and the C. And there's most of the time in personification, there's action. For example, the stars danced in the midnight sky.
And to help you remember pathetic fallacy, well, feeling pathetic is an emotion, and fallacy means false, so giving a false emotion to an object or animal. Lastly, here are some tips to identify them in a text. So first, you want to look at your text, and if you see anything where the author describes something non-human using human qualities, that would basically be impossible for them to have. It's pathetic fallacy or personification. And then after that, you want to look if it's an emotion or a characteristic. And if it's an emotion, well, that means it's a pathetic fallacy. And if it's a characteristic, like running, dancing, well, that would be a personification.
I hope this helped you guys understand more about personifications and pathetic fallacies.